touch on a lot of stuff, and I don't even know if I can do it, but I'm reaching. I'm trying to reach for the stars. That's why I called this reading Starmageddon, because it's all about how we're in the battle. I'm getting my cards out so I can shuffle them, and this showed up first. We're in the battle. This is Armageddon. This is Armageddon we're in. And but I'm going to call it Starmageddon because it's a new beginning for. It's a new beginning for women, really, all over the world. And one of my recent index cards, a new one of my index cards that I made, let me get it out, is this. If Giselle can do it, so can I. This card's referring to the French woman Giselle Pellicot. I salute you. Your story moved me deeply. And I cried for you. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, who's pushing me around? Who's pushing us around? Who's bullying women, and why? And who is there to save us, if anyone? Is anyone coming to save us, or are they just coming to bully us again and to lie to us and to gaslight us again? I don't know. What we need is this, and this is what we've all been so... At first I had a blank for the third word on this card, but then I filled it in with how I'd like it to be filled in. So for me, it might not be mega as much as Maha. Make America honest again. Now we're talking about government, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is a new earth. The government of the new earth, that's what's being born here. Wait a minute, where's that Ace of Wands that came off out of the box right away? We're talking about new beginnings of the new earth, excuse me. And so one of the channels, the YouTube tarot reader channels that I like to watch a lot, she has this card in her index card deck. You can do what you want with your life, but you can't do what you want with my life. This is about free choice and free will, and that is something that God gave us. I do believe in God, and I also believe in an honest form of government that respects people's rights and that has a codified system of law that reflects the rights of the individual. That would be coming out of our Declaration of Independence. That's what that was all about. And our Constitution, and enforcing the vision that was set down in there. Okay. How the Declaration of Independence that came out of the Revolutionary War was instrumental in creating the Constitution that we have, that is the codified set of laws that we are to uphold so that we can all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And those things have been violated by certain groups that are trying to tear them down by means of turning everything upside down and confusing everyone and turning all the definitions of words and everything on their heads so that no one knows which way is up anymore. And in all the confusion of this Armageddon, of this war, this spiritual war, things were going to be switched around and swapped around, and money was going to be redistributed, and identities were going to be stolen, and so forth and so on, so that one group could lord it over the rest of us, enslaving everyone, and so they could milk and farm us and harvest off whatever they could get from us. Okay, it's a very dishonest thing. And you know, I just mentioned the Revolutionary War times, and you know, the Declaration of Independence that was signed in 1776 in Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Well, about 100 years before that, this reader that I like to watch so much has a Leviathan card in her deck, and she always refers to it as though it's, you know, that's, a lot of people think of the Leviathan as that big sea monster, or the Loch Ness monster, or the Kraken, or that big octopus that's in the logo of that shadowy organized crime group that James Bond is charged with finding and destroying. Okay. Don't they have an octopus for their logo? I think so. But there's another Leviathan, okay? I'm not talking about the Kraken, I'm talking about this other Leviathan, okay? Which was a philosophical treatise that was written by a guy named Hobbes in 1651. And they came after this guy for writing this because it was revolutionary. It was one of the philosophies that was one of the underpinnings of of these revolutions that came over in Europe to when the Civil War broke out in England, leading up to the Revolutionary War in the United States and the French Revolution. And these people that were in these secret societies that were out there gunning for freedom, they wanted to be free from the overtaxation and the slavery that they were under. And so Leviathan was written as a way of expressing those principles 100 years before the French Revolution and the American Revolution. So, and here's a picture of, I'm going to edit in the illustration from the book Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes, showing the enlightened form of government that would have two arms to it, the law and the spiritual authority that is behind the law. The shepherd's crook. This is what we talk about. Jesus was a shepherd. And when we talk about the second coming, we talk about the shepherd who will lead the flock, the innocent, the sheep, okay? Not the sheeple. We're not sheeple. We're not dumb animals. We're actually the meek. That's what the flock is. And the flock was put there by God to provide things like milk and floss, the yarn that we weave into fabrics to keep ourselves warm. And so we guard the flock because it innocently provides for us. We don't harm them. Anyway, so these principles that were led to this enlightened government that our forefathers were trying to bring became corrupted. You know, those were the principles that were laid down by the secret societies that were the forerunners of the modern Masons, but then that society became corrupt. It became corrupt, and they formed a shadow government. I just saw 11:44 when I looked up the timer. They formed a shadow government that I talked about in the notes to my video, The Snapp Family Curse V2. If you look at the notes there in the description box, I'm talking about the shadow government that was formed by these corrupt Masons to push around and control everyone from underneath. That's the inverted spiritualist, the Satanist. I talk about the satanic nation in that video. And those people now managed to come up and take over our military, some branches of our military. They took over our Congress and all over the federal government. When they came into your neighborhood, they came into your very neighborhoods and formed their ghastly covens and that target people who start waking up out of this fog that they try to cast over everybody of, we're going to do what we want with your life stuff, right? They thought they had the right to do what they wanted with our lives. But no. The Declaration of Independence says you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without harming other people, though. Okay. And what's the best way to do that? To have a government that protects and defends the right to bear arms, but one that is respectful of your sovereignty as a spiritual being, and that is the spiritual arm of the Leviathan. That's upheld, in the name of the Christ consciousness that respects the sovereignty of ensouled human beings, but we defend ourselves. We put the boundaries and the walls around our fortress to make sure we're safe. We defend our people within there by adhering to the laws that are laid down in the Constitution. So you see there on the left side, that's the fortress with the crown under the divine monarchy and the weapons that we have to defend ourselves. And on the right side, that's the church. It's a church and state, and the spiritual principles shown on the right side of the illustration there. Okay, the bishop's mitre. So it's the combination of church and state, the enlightened monarchy, or the commonwealth, in which all the people shown and the people of the nation come together under this divinely guided and protected by law commonwealth. Now, we can go a layer deeper into the woo and try to figure out who's doing this, who's behind this perversion of the law and this shadow government that's attacking people from secrecy, and there's all kinds of theories about that. One of the things that happened to me on my journey of being one of these people who's attacked from secrecy and who's been gang stalked and who's been put through the rigors of the MK Ultra mind control brainwashing program as a kid. And I talk about that in the Snapp Family Curse V2. This was something they did to put us to sleep. It involves hypnotism. It involves people making hand gestures at you and throwing trigger words that were all programmed in to put you back to sleep, by ancient methods. These things come down from antiquity. This method of Monarch programming that Fritz Springmeier talked about in his book, How to Create an Undetectable Monarch Slave. These are the protocols for doing that kind of came down from Egypt even. And that's why these Freemasons in their lodges enacted they did those cosplay things with the Egyptian costumes and, the Roman costumes and all that. It gets really deep. And even deeper layers are talking about, are we controlled by some kind of extraterrestrials with an interest in making our planet into a planet of slaves and farming people, or beyond that, are they controlled by some kind of artificial intelligence? And I think that's kind of like what the movie The Matrix was trying to express. Remember the scene where Neo meets the architect? And the architect sits in a sterile room full of computer monitors, all showing different scenes of all the different kinds of ways that. But I have a reading in my channel. It's called "You Are the Architect Now." That's available for you to watch. Maybe I'll link it to the end of this video for you to watch. You are ordained by God to be a sovereign being with the free choice to create your own experience and to be prosperous in your own right for your own benefit. As long as you're not harming other people, you can create your experience to be any way you want it. You can do what you want with your life, but you can't do what you want with other people's lives. And so the ultimate creative power in the 3D is it is the power that comes through, now not to be graphic or pornographic, but it comes through reproducing from the female and the male, the union of the masculine and the feminine. That would be sex. To be frank, without getting graphic, that produces a healthy, ensouled human being that is meant to come into the 3D creation of God to create again and create its own experience, to grow and to create. And so you need a real woman to be the birthing person. Men can't do that. And anyone who's telling you that is lying to you. They're gaslighting you. They're taking women and giving them hormones and disguising them as men with big pot bellies, but really those are, and saying that they can give birth, but really those are women. Who've been given hormones so they can grow a beard and then they say they're gonna have a baby. You know, the whole thing just got crazy. It got crazy-o, okay. What these so-called progressives were trying to do, and they're the beings who possibly control them are possibly reptilians or lizards who they're jealous of women. They are inherently same-sex attractive people. This gets really weird. It's hard to talk about without really talking about it, but they probably have a queen, one queen, and they're jealous of women's creative power. They want to be able to control women so that they can control reproduction. They want to get a lock on that so that it can be done in the laboratory. Okay, that's what Brave New World kind of was about. And doing designer babies and eugenics to create different castes of people to do different roles in society. This is kind of what the movie, or what the book, The Handmaid's Tale, was about. But even that got turned on its head by progressives at Netflix, you know. No, that wasn't the original. The first version of that movie that was made with Robert Duvall showed it the way it was supposed to be interpreted. But you can't even find that movie anymore. So read the book. You know how they always say the book's way better than the movie? Well, yeah. Margaret Atwood had some serious insights for us. I recommend you read the book, The Handmaid's Tale. And she wrote many other very interesting, deep books. It's a great author to read. Anyway, I digress, and I'm going all over the place, but I hope I've managed to work in some of the ideas that I wanted to talk about, including Leviathan. And when I edit that illustration, I'm going to try to do some voiceover that explains what some of the visuals are there on that illustration from the original book published in 1651. And I also, part of the idea here is the return of romantic love, and like I talked about, the meeting again of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. What that really means is the man and the woman, Adam and Eve, as God made them to be, as God created them to be, the man and the woman, the divine masculine coming back and finding the divine feminine. And you'll notice as I'm making this video, the light's coming in. I started it before sunrise, and it's getting lighter and lighter in here as I speak. This is a time of the light increasing. As we find our way, we choose a direction, and we find our way, we start going towards the light, Two of Wands, and we come out, we go down a new path, Eight of Cups, towards the dawn. It's a fiery new beginning. You see that, how it looks like a fiery sun. I don't think that's a sunset. I think it's a sunrise. And we move away from what these people did in the dark to manipulate men and women, to lie to us that, this is the devil card, to lie to us that we're not enough and we don't have what it takes. And these are the people who wanted to do what they want with your life, okay? As we come into this energy of the divine masculine, remembering, look, going into that fiery dawn, into that ocean of emotion, of love. That's what the water is, offering the cup of love again. Going in search of your divine feminine. This is kind of like the revival of romance and that came right before the Renaissance, when we came out of the Dark Ages in Europe, and at that time that the troubadours were going around singing love songs. To divine feminines. These two cards flipped out at the same time. This is the High Priestess card, and the Knight of Cups flipped out in the same shuffle. This is a time we're in now. So, you know, this is a portal we're going through. And I said it involves sex. This is a creative force, and this came out too next to that. This is kind of like, you know, the Empress is the ultimately creative woman, creative power of womanhood. And you see her crown of stars there. This looks a little bit like the Statue of Liberty, which is, it's a big symbol of freedom to people who want to come to this country, the refugees who came to the country seeking freedom because of their forefathers before them who fought for the freedom, who wrote the Declaration of Independence, who were inspired by Hobbes, Leviathan. So this is the period we're in of these inspired divine masculines coming back, coming out of the fog of war, of the Armageddon, the spiritual warfare. And if you can wake up to all that and come into union with your divine feminine, it's healing. It's like the star card, number 17. Okay. That's why I called this Starmageddon. And, you know, I've been telling you about my favorite Christmas movie, White Christmas. And, of course, within that movie, there's the story of the guy who fell in love with the girl and was kind of like distracted and too busy to really treat her the way she should be treated and to protect her and all that. He was too busy with his career. But to even recognize her when she came along. And so with help from two friends who were kind of like spirit guides, they kind of pushed him together and helped him realize that sacred love was more important than anything. And he got reminded that it was his job to be the white knight, to get up on that white horse and be her protector. And of course, there was the scene at the end where she came back after being mad at him and misunderstanding him. She didn't realize he loved her too. She came back with a present for him, and it was like a knight on a white horse figurine that she wrapped up and left there as a surprise for him to open. say so much more, but I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming back to Pearle Snapp Tarot. I hope you'll return. Hit the like button, share this with people, and subscribe. Merry Christmas.